How you guys doing? It's me, Bill Potter, talking to you from my spacious library. Anyway, wanted to spend some time talking to you about the new show at Reedy Point. It's called the O'Malley Gambit, and what it is a story about Queen Elizabeth I and Grace O'Malley, the Irish pirate chieftain who came together to have a big meeting back in the 16th century, I think it was. Anyway, if you talk about glass ceilings, I mean, my goodness, these are two women who probably should never have reached the levels they did, but it happened. Anyway, these two strong women meeting, and no one knows exactly what happened behind closed doors. We know that the meeting occurred. Anyway, the whole reimagining of this thing was written by Kate Monaghan, longtime Delaware and currently living in Virginia. Anyway, it's going to be directed by the wonderful Ruth Gay Brown. So I thought it'd be a really good idea to talk to the playwright and figure out, why'd you do it? Why'd you write about this story? Why Reedy Point, or why bring it here? And this will be the first of several interviews I'm going to have with Kate, and then take everything you need to know. So anyway, I'm going to throw some information about the music you're going to hear and how to get tickets at the end of the podcast. So I guess that's it. Without further ado, here's Kate Monaghan telling us a little bit about the O'Malley Gambit. So why O'Malley's Gambit?
Well, I started out as an actor.
Okay.
Many decades ago, right? And the older I got, the fewer good roles there are for women. That's changing a little bit now, but 10 years ago when I was starting working on this play, there really wasn't much.
Okay.
There were minor characters, but it wasn't even that they were minor. I don't mind doing, a good small role, but
Sure.
They were stereotypical characters.
Right.
And
The doddering old lady. That kind
yes, exactly. And so when I decided, when I retired from my day job, one of the things I wanted to do was try my hand at playwriting. I had been acting and directing and stage managing. You know how it is in community theater. Everybody does everything. I had been doing that since I was less than 10 years old. I was in single digits when I started down this road, right? And so one of the tasks I set myself was to look for stories to tell that enabled me to create strong, fully realized female characters.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right, so we start with that. Then we go to the fact that my background is both English and Irish. My father was born and raised in London.
Okay.
His father was an Irishman. My mother's family were O'Neills.
Okay.
Right? So I have the blended heritage of both countries in my background, and have always been interested in the histories of both countries. So then my husband and I, and his background is Irish as well, as you can tell from the last name.
Yep.
We were planning our first trip to Ireland, almost 20 years ago now. And I was reading one of the travel guides that you get when you're going someplace you've never been, right? And there was this passing mention to the Grace O'Malley Museum in a town called Louisville in Western Ireland.
Louisville?
Lewisburg.
Oh, Louisville.
Yeah, not Louisville, Kentucky. Lewisburg, Ireland. And I thought, well, who the heck is Grace O'Malley? So I started doing a little research. Hold on a second.
Not a problem.
While I reject this call.
Okay.
And so while we were in, my husband's people are from County Donegal, which is in the far northwest of Ireland, and way off the beaten track for tourists.
Roger.
So we flew into Dublin. We stayed in Dublin for the weekend. We rented a car and we drove across the middle of Ireland and up into the northwest. And it was a whole different country. Yeah. I mean, Dublin is this modern city full of young people and tourists. You get out into the northwestern counties of Ireland, and you see little old ladies riding bicycles, and children in their little uniforms coming home from school, and it's where the Irish people live, as opposed to where the tourist industry exists.
Yeah.
And just south of that part of Ireland is a town called Westport. It's a big music center in Ireland, big Irish music center. And it's kind of where the southwestern tourist trail begins. That goes down to the Dingle Peninsula, and it's very easily divided if you have experienced it. I tell people that when we first went to Ireland, after we left Dublin, we never met anyone who was visiting. Everybody we met lived there.
Okay.
When we went back several years later and did the southern and southwestern end, which is the tourist area, every time we sat down in a restaurant, there was somebody from New Jersey or Montana or Texas at the next table, which was fine, but it really highlighted the difference between the two parts of the country. So the northwestern part of Ireland, which is where Grace O'Malley grew up and lived, is still pretty darn authentic Irish.
Okay.
And I found out that she was a real person. There's hardly anything in the Irish history books. I was able to find one scholarly work that documented her life, and the documentation was almost exclusively contained in the archives of the British government. The governors that England sent over to Ireland would write home complaining about this woman and all the havoc she was wreaking along the seacoast and everything. And I know you've recently read the script. That Mother of All Rebellions in Ireland is a direct quote from one of those reports. The paragraph that the one character Cecil reads as what Grace telling what one of her grievances is, that's a direct quote from the answers she made. So
cool.
All of the characters in this play had real existence, except for the woman who is the narrator character.
Narrator, Breed, whatever we call it.
She and Rory is made up.
Oh.
So everybody else is a real person, and fulfilled the functions they fulfill in the play. The Irish Earl really did serve as an intermediary between Grace and the court to try to set up the meeting. The other advisors for the Queen were really part of her Privy Council. Okay. It was a story just that was there. All I had to do was find the words to tell it.
That's it.
And
so
I was just
go ahead.
I was just fascinated by this, not one but two strong older women.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
Who basically nobody knows what was said in that room, because they were the only two people there and they never told anybody. Right.
Yeah.
So
and that's a beautiful reimagining you did. That so many closed door things like that.